Hey guys, welcome back to The Tipsy Ghost. We are your tipsy hosts, Sarah, and Lindsay.
We decided to do a group project. So this is us doing a group paranormal experience.
What?
Nope. Hold on. Rewind.
I'm like, is it?
Everything you just said is wrong.
I read the top of my page that said paranormal experiences.
So the catacombs are a vast network that's under the city of Paris. The tourist attraction is now called the Catacombs, so you'll hear me just reference that as catacombs for the rest of this most of the time. It really only refers to about 1.2 miles, which is just a fraction of the entire network, which is closer to about 200 miles.
Jeez. That's like a tiny, tiny section.
Right. There were quarry tunnels or underground mines.
Mice?
Yeah,
I bet there are mice
couple
underground,
of
yes.
episodes for me.
I bet there are.
Underground mines that have been around since the Roman times. Builders would use the limestone from the mines for the structures above ground in the growing city. And fun fact, the limestone that was mined in the tunnels was also used to build important structures such as Notre Dame or Notre Dame. But if you're from the Midwest, we say Notre Dame.
That's the college.
The church. God damn it. Why you gotta be so rude?
No, I'm saying Notre Dame is the church, Notre Dame is the college.
Notre Dame is the church. Okay, it's the church. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. The church that burnt down.
Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yes, I'm there.
So, in 1763, burials within the city were banned because they were basically running out of room to bury the bodies. The cemeteries were full and overflowing, the worst one being Les Innocents.
That was amazing. You said it very fast so nobody could tell.
That's my trick. To make more room, they would exhume dead bodies and put them into the cemetery walls. So eventually, the walls were over 6 feet high.
Ew.
So even though they tried to ban burials, nothing really changed. So really, the walls just kept getting higher and higher. In December 1774, well, unfortunately, mining big holes under the city caused some problems. It started to cave in at different points.
Mm.
The collapse ended up swallowing multiple houses and people on the, here we go again, Avenue d'Enfer Rochereau.
You're doing great.
That felt solid. So this prompted King Louis XVI to hire an architect to fix the problem. And I guess up until that point, the mines were mostly not connected. So they all just kind of tunneled in, made their own spot. So they began connecting the mines underneath. So I'm not an architect and I don't know how that's helpful, but apparently they thought it would be easier to help with the structure, I guess, underneath there to make it so there's less pit holes. I don't really know.
Okay.
So 1780, lots of rain caused the wall around Les Innocents to collapse and resulted in an avalanche of bones and rotting corpses into the nearby neighborhoods.
Oh, can you imagine?
No, it was
Like
probably a little rough.
Yeah. Wake up
That's
one
my
morning in
guess.
your house and there's some bones and corpses come rolling around.
There's some bones in this house. Some bones.
Yes, that's where WAP came from.
I believe that was the origination
Yes.
of WAP. Okay. The architect now had lots more work to do, and he had to do it pretty fast so that people didn't have, dead bodies and corpses into their houses and yards. So his solution was to relocate all of the bones into the tunnels and the mines, which then became the catacombs. So there was a nightly procession of black cloth-covered wagons carrying the dead to the ossuary. It took about 2 years to relocate all of the bodies.
Oh my goodness.
So it's closed off to the public for most of the year. And above the entrance to the tunnels is a sign that says, "Stop. This is the Empire of Death." And lucky for you, I did not write that down in French, so I cannot butcher it.
Reminds me of Star Wars.
I was thinking that
The
too.
Empire. Is
The
that
Empire
why?
Strikes Back and Death Star. Oh.
Maybe that's where Star Wars got it.
Lots of people are just borrowing from the Paris Catacombs.
WAP, Star Wars.
What's next? Harry Potter?
Probably, actually. All right. At first, everything was pretty unorganized and bones were just placed all willy-nilly.
Willy-nilly.
That's a technical term. But then in 1810, the director of the Paris Mine Inspection Service, or PEMIS.
P-E-M?
PMIS.
P-minus.
Paris Mine Inspection. purpose, came in and fixed that right up. So he had the bones stacked in different patterns that you can see today. And you've probably seen them in pictures, but it's mostly skulls, tibia, fibulas, and femurs that they can use to create pretty designs like hearts and circles.
He's like a guy after our own heart. Like, take something
macabre.
creepy
Yeah.
and weird, and he's like,
Like,
I can
oh.
make this into something beautiful and
I can make this
artistic.
beautiful. And he did. It
Give
is
me
kind
that
of cool.
skull. Yeah, it's very cool.
One of the most popular pieces of work is the barrel, which is used to help hold the weight of the ceiling. And it is done in a beautiful pattern and huge. There are approximately 6 to 7 million dead Parisians buried in the catacombs.
Jeez.
In addition to those who were removed from the cemetery, there are also people who died during the French Revolution, famous people who died from the guillotine, and Charles Perrault. Probably butchered his last name, sorry about that, but he wrote Little Red Riding Hood and Cinderella.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
During the Paris Commune, don't ask me about history because don't know exactly, but there were 6,000 people who apparently sought refuge underground in the tunnels. It's also used during World War II as a bunker and was established as the head of resistance when they built their headquarters here. Entering the catacombs became illegal in 1955, mostly because they didn't want people to get lost in the enormously long tunnels. Because as we mentioned, you're only allowed to go to 1 mile out of 200. But people at that time, I'm sure before, were just walking aimlessly. Also to prevent accidents, they weren't allowed to go in.
Sure.
In 1968, a group of students began a riot. They knew how to use the tunnels to escape from the police and quickly get to other parts of the city. Kind of crazy. In the 70s and 80s, a group known as the cataphiles, or catacomb enthusiasts, began to emerge. They figured out they could get down there from secret entrances from their school, and they would go down to party or do drugs, and eventually police began patrolling the tunnels. So that kind of stopped there.
That would do it. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about the cataphiles, too.
What
Like
the
we
hell
said.
did you just say?
I'm going to talk a little bit about the cataphiles.
Okay.
Yes. So
I
the
follow.
cataphiles, they're people who are well versed in the catacombs. In early 2010, a group of them were walking through the catacombs, and they found a video camera on the ground with footage on it from the 90s. So this footage is about 40 minutes long, and it shows a man holding the video camera, and he's running. You can tell he's lost. He's trying to find a way out. Like you said, this is 200 miles. This is, if you don't know the catacombs and aren't with a tour guide, like, you're going to get lost. That's one of the main reasons why they're illegal to go in, because people get lost. This isn't like Blair Witch style. It's kind of like, it's showing, like, he's holding the camera and it's facing out, so you're just seeing, like, the tunnels as he's running by. You don't see his face at all.
Versus just running with the camera facing towards you.
Yes. Saying, I'm so scared. He must not have seen Blair Witch yet.
Got it.
So, many believe actually that As Above, So Below, the movie, was inspired by this video.
It probably was, which I still haven't seen it yet.
I
I've
haven't
been wanting
seen it
to.
yet either. Boydston?
I watched it.
Wait, don't give it away because I'm going to watch it. I will.
Mm-hmm.
So, also about that movie, As Above, So Below, it's one of the first movies, I think, to be filmed in actually the catacombs.
Oh, that's cool.
So, Paris
they were
gave
actually
them
there.
permission. Yeah, Paris gave them permission.
Wow.
So, throughout the footage, anyways, of this found video camera from the 90s, you can tell he's trying to find a way out. He doesn't know where he's going. He's just running around in circles, basically. So the video ends after 40 minutes with him dropping the camera on the ground and running away. Nobody has ever identified him, so we don't know who he is or if he ever came out alive. So there is that. Another legend says that if you are inside the catacombs after midnight, the walls will begin to speak to you. People report hearing disembodied voices that will persuade you to go deeper and deeper until you get lost and cannot find your way out.
Lindsay, go deeper into the wall.
I was like, yes, what are they hearing? So during the French Revolution, there was a man named Philibert Asper. Thank you. He was a doorman at a hospital, and he was on a mission to go find a certain liquor from a cellar, but actually ended up accidentally in the catacombs instead.
Now wait.
Do you know what liquor they were looking for?
I don't.
Bone liquor?
So the monks would go down there and make their own liquor.
Oh.
And so he was going down
Risky.
to find that.
Monks were making liquor?
That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What kind of liquor?
Well, I mean, they don't have women in their lives. They gotta drink.
I'm not judging. I don't care.
It starts with a C, but I think it's something like chartreuse or something.
That's the color.
Okay.
He was walking around the catacombs. He had a candle, became lost and confused. Some people think he may have been intoxicated as well. His candle eventually went out, so then, you're in pitch black darkness. You're underground in a tunnel.
Ooh.
So they did not find his body for 11 years when a group of cataphiles uncovered it, and they identified him by the hospital key ring that was hanging from his belt. So he is buried in the catacombs, and he is in the exact same place where he died, with a tombstone describing his death. So cataphiles folklore, they kind of all tell that each November 3rd, his ghost haunts the labyrinth of the catacombs. Don't go in on November 3rd. So in 2004, there was a group of police officers, like you said, they patrolled the catacombs. So they were exploring a part that was restricted from public access and found a PA system with pre-recorded guard dog barking noises playing. So they kept investigating. They found 3,000 square feet of galleries wired with electricity. They found a bar, a living area, a workshop, a lounge, and even a cinema room that seated 20 people. The cinema seats had all been carved into the stones of the catacombs. And the creepiest part was they saw cameras on the ceilings recording them. So the police squad, they went back to the area a few days later with a larger team to further investigate. They also brought an electrician because they're like, how are you getting electricity down here?
Right.
They get there and everything that they had discovered from a few days ago was gone, including the phone lines and the cinema. The power lines were there, but they were all cut. And the only thing they found was a note that in English translates to "do not search."
Sounds awfully sus.
Like we said, a lot of the tunnels are restricted, but there's lots of hidden and secret entrances for people to investigate. This is our warning. Don't go down there by yourself. Like we said, go with a tour guide if you're going to do something like this. Go with someone who knows it because there's no phone service. It's pitch black, and the likelihood is you will get lost for several days. Nobody's going to come find you or search for you because you're not supposed to be down there anyways.
Like, well, it's your own fault.
Yeah. Best piece of advice I found, thank you, Reddit, was if you do get lost or separated and you're in the forbidden part, try to go up so that you can find like a manhole cover and you might be able to get service because you'll be close to the street.
Yep.
So that also kind of explains why there's probably not a lot of investigations. Like people aren't going down there ghost hunting like we are because it's illegal.
Right.
And things I did find of some people who had gone down like secretly, like the guide and all of them are blurred out. Their voice is like disguised because they don't want anybody to be giving up. And you have to disguise how you got into the catacombs. They can't show that. So it's all very secretive.
Yeah.
In 2017, 2 teenagers were lost down there for 3 days, and they were eventually found thanks to police dogs that were brought down.
That would be terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Most people report, and cataphiles report, that what basically goes down there is just drug use, alcohol, parties, things like that. They deny any paranormal experiences, but also warn that it is dangerous. Do not go into without a guide because of also cave-ins. There are some areas that are still not safe.
I also saw one, I don't know what to call it, but there was this like rumor going around that there was a lake underneath the opera house.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's where Phantom of the Opera came from also.
I heard that. I also heard about like witches and Satanists meeting there, but I actually found this like, I was on a weird piece of the internet and found like cataphiles and they were like talking about, experiences and stuff, and they're like, no, there's not, like, there's parties down there, but there's not like Satanists meeting down there or witches or anything like that. Like, it's all just drugs and alcohol.
Well, it turns out that the lake is actually true.
Is it?
Yes. And
how?
I don't know, but the people who work at the opera house feed whatever is in there.
Wait, hold up, what?
There's like fish and stuff.
Okay.
I guess I should clarify.
There's a lake in the Paris Catacombs and there's something.
It's not like Nessie.
Nessie's in there. You're like, they feed whatever's in there. I'm like, what?
But I guess some of the firefighters do underwater training there.
That sounds terrifying.
Yes.
Absolutely terrifying. No, thank you. Hard pass.
I know a guy who went down there once.
Oh, to the lake?
Or to the catacombs?
To the catacombs.
Oh.
Cool.
Zach went down there once.
What
I know Zach.
Yeah.
I was like, can you text him and get his experience? Never mind, Zach.
Didn't you know we're besties?
You
never tell you the story?
So Zach went down there and he made a Travel Channel special about it called Ghost Adventures, special episode Netherworld, Paris Catacombs with Zach Bagans.
That is a very long title, and of course he included his name in it.
With Zach Bagans, but nobody else from the Ghost Adventures crew.
Zach meets up with a guy named Francis Friedland, and instantly I'm a fan of him because he's seen drinking wine during the day, and that makes me feel more normal.
I feel like that's how Paris would be. Paris, you are our city.
Right.
Bread, wine during the day.
So Francis is the documentarian who made a film chronicling the final moments of the guy Lindsay talked about.
Look at us.
The lost cataphile through found video footage. So this unknown man, as you'll recall, was recording and documenting his journey. He went into the maze of catacombs alone and was exploring, and suddenly he starts running and faster, deeper into the catacombs. And like she said, just the camera drops and he runs away, and that's that. The audio is basically just heavy breathing and footsteps.
Sounds awful.
So, Zach, why did he run? What did he see? I have to get down there. I have to know more.
Oh my God, you sound just like him.
Maybe he was just going insane, being in the dark and freaking out and lost.
So then Zach meets up with an IT consultant who says that he was exploring the catacombs with a friend, and when his friend got lost, he was running to find his friend when he stumbled and fell. He said that he looked up and saw someone who was pointing at a wall where there was a date and the letter G. And we find out that this is the mark of Charles Axel Guillemot, the architect that Sarah's talking about, responsible for the mines.
Thank you for saying his name. I appreciate that. I did
Our-
not include it.
Our IT friend thinks that he saw Guillemot. So we find
Such a
out
good
that
one.
the catacombs are forbidden and sealed up and locked tight and welded in. Nobody should go down there. You're going to die. And that
Okay.
they could be inhabited by a demon werewolf, creatures, something like that,
Demon werewolf or demon comma werewolf?
or both. Like a demon werewolf or a demon or werewolves.
A demon
All of the
werewolf.
above. All the above.
Is there a good werewolf? An
It
angel
said,
werewolf?
it said
Yeah,
that
true.
these creatures
Harry Potter.
locked a woman in a cage in the 1940s.
There's
Wasn't
the
there
Harry
a
Potter
werewolf?
reference, Lupin.
Yes, he
There's
was.
the Harry Potter reference.
He was in Harry Potter. Okay.
Demon werewolf threw me for a loop.
So they might have locked a woman in a cage in the 1940s.
Ooh.
Zach finds an American living in Paris, and his name is Nick. And Nick said that he was down in the catacombs as well with a cataphile, and they were raving when suddenly some unknown person dropped a smoke bomb.
Ooh.
So he was walking away trying to navigate the catacombs when he lost his hearing and everything went silent. And then he sees a hand coming towards him through the smoke, and he's insistent that it wasn't a person because he reached out to grab the hand and it dissipated.
Like a grudge hand.
So then Zach is seen walking through the streets when all of a sudden a police officer recognizes him, and this gives him and his crew an in down into the catacombs. He dresses up in a police jumpsuit.
Oh my gosh, wait. The police were letting him down there?
Yep. Because they write he's famous.
Oh, Zach. I bet he
So-
loved that.
Well, you just wait for it. He dresses up in a police jumpsuit, and then he asks for a gun with a silver bullet.
Shut up. Zach, there's no demon werewolf down there.
What the fuck is he going to do with a gun? Yeah, I love you, Zach, but what are you going to
Who's giving Zach a gun? What police officer? What police officer is giving this random guy a gun?
So the unimpressed officer declines.
Okay, good job, police officer.
And then he asks for a taser, and the officer says, "You're not going to need any of that down there."
They're like, no. It's not going to work on spirits and
So he gets into the
demons.
police van with all the officers. On the way, he ponders the meaning of life like he does. He goes underground into the catacombs and finds evidence of cataphiles. And he asks if the roof could crumble and is then told that they have a lot of collapses. So, I mean, it's possible.
I can relate with that part of Zach. I would be afraid of, something crumbling and me being trapped in a tunnel underground.
Especially because it already did. Like,
That's a
way
legit
back in the
fear
day.
to have. Yes.
Yeah. So they find a giant net and he asks about it. But the police hurry them along without explanation, making Zach feel, of course, like they're hiding something.
Yes. Or maybe they just were like, we're not answering these stupid questions.
I don't know. It's a net.
So then the police and Zach got lost.
Oh,
And
no.
Zach starts to get claustrophobic. They venture through. Thank God they make their way out.
It'd be a huge
Yes.
liability if Zach died.
Zach realizes he's got to find a cataphile and go back down there illegally. A paranormal
And recorded it?
investigator now
Risky.
recognizes Zach. He's just being recognized left and right. And
Apparently he's a big sensation in Paris.
I mean,
Worldwide, Lindsay.
he's kind of a big deal. So she hooks him up with a cataphile. People, like, she doesn't know. She just had to call a friend of a friend of a friend. And Zach is concerned that these guys they found are not trustworthy, but in the end, they end up trusting them, and the journey begins.
You mean you didn't find people you just met trustworthy?
Right.
What?
So a cover is opened, and they sneak in quickly, finding other people partying down in the catacombs at the tomb of Philibert Asper.
It's a hot spot.
Rave.
They were drinking to his memory. It was probably
November 3rd.
It must have been. That's the special day.
one of the partiers stops to talk to the crew and said that recently he found blood in the catacombs.
Oh.
So this is where it kind of gets interesting, though. The guide is taking them past the partiers, deeper into the part of the catacombs where people just don't venture to. He says they walk miles. Zach puts up cameras along the way in case they don't make it out. They will know the direction that they last walked.
Or maybe somebody will come along and be like, ooh, a camera. I'm going to take it and steal it.
I feel like if you're down there, you're going to have to set up like something to indicate which direction you came from.
Or like a piece of rope. Yes, something.
A piece of rope. I was thinking like a light or...
Yes, I was thinking of like Hansel and Gretel leaving a trail.
fucking be the longest piece of twine.
Yes, you bring
Crumbs.
lots of twine.
Just leave your crumbs
No,
along the
because
way.
there's mice.
Oh, okay.
They come to a point with 5 tunnels to choose from.
I'll see.
And they pick one and they head into their intended tunnel, and you can hear voices and a laugh that isn't any of them. So at this point, it's the camera guy, Zach, the paranormal investigator, and these 2 cataphiles. It's a female laugh, and the only female there with them is the paranormal investigator. And they like happen to be panning while you hear this laugh, and her mouth isn't moving, she's not making a sound. So that's pretty interesting. They got a little EVP down in the catacombs. They reach the bones, and they're just scattered around like trash. And that is sad. And so Zach, I've never seen anything like this before.
You're excellent at quoting.
The sadness is heavy, like a thick fog of energy, and we're tangled up inside of it.
Zach, are you in here with us?
We both have
Oh
to
my God,
fight to hold back our tears. So Zach and the paranormal investigator sit down and they do an EVP session, and he says something in English, he says it in French, and then they ask for someone to make a noise. And at that point, it sounds like something is thrown behind Zach. So, TBD. They're done with their sesh, and they find their guide with a bottle of wine about 2/3 of the way gone. He offers some to Zach, and he's like, no, thanks, man. So the team with their drunk tour guide heads back, and Zach finds that 2 out of 3 of the cameras are gone.
Called it.
He mentions that the only people they've seen were
Crumbs would have been
miles... The only people they've seen were miles back towards the entrance, and it was unlikely any of them would have come out that far. But the first camera that he placed is still there. And they find it, and they review the footage to see, like, who stole my cameras.
Right.
But no one passes by the camera. So what they do catch is fascinating to me. It's a glowing, full-body apparition that passes in the corner of the frame. And, that's why I think the catacombs are haunted. The end.
Thank you, Zach.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, especially for quoting him. I felt like he was here with us.
But really, if you watch that special, I told you the whole episode, but skip to the end so that you can see this full body apparition. Because I thought it was pretty fascinating, especially because that's the first camera he put up. So he put up a camera at the entrance, basically, of whenever they were going down this tunnel, and then further on down. And the ones further down, those cameras were the ones that were stolen or are no longer there.
Cool. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning into our first group paranormal episode. You can always find us at thetipsyghost.com with all of our socials linked there, and email us at thetipsyghost@gmail.com.
Please give us a 5-star rating and a great review on Apple Podcasts. We greatly appreciate it.
We sure do.
We sure do. Thanks so much for tuning in this week, guys. We will catch you guys next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.